Hi everybody, this is Dan, Holy Ground Explorations. It's the week of June 22nd, and this is our Middle East update. Let me encourage you, go to our website right away, holygroundexplorations.com, to access the PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this YouTube presentation. Let's take a look at what's going on in the headlines. Netanyahu is has met last week with King Abdullah in Jordan. This was last Monday in order to sort of advance regional peace in the area. This is noteworthy because these two haven't met together since November of 2014. Now things are boiling in the Middle East. It's a cauldron. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is warning about the escalation in Gaza, and he's saying it's on the brink of war, and he's urging both Hamas and Israel to recommit to the ceasefire that ended their 2014 war. We'll talk a little bit more about this in this presentation this week, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Israel citizens in the south experienced the most violent week of rockets since Operation Protective Edge 4 years ago. Over 90 rockets have been fired at civilian targets, and that's not even counting the kites that have been sent over 350 kites being sent over with fire bombs attached to them, and the number of acreage that have been burned is staggering. On another note, the new president-elect of Colombia, Ivan Duque, has said that his government is interested in looking into moving their embassy to Jerusalem. And finally, in regards to just this week's update, during Ramadan, the Temple Mount's off. The Jews cannot go up onto the Temple Mount. And during this time, it's been reported that Muslims have been working night and day to destroy artifacts of the ancient Jewish temple. No big surprise there. Something that happens all the time. Well, let's take a look. Let's kind of hone in on some of these topics. The rockets that were sent over from Gaza. Up to 45 rockets were fired on Israel from the Gaza Strip early on Wednesday morning. And during that previous night, 24-hour period, there were 45 rockets that were sent over. And of course, we still have the Kite fires, and there were 20 new blazes that have eaten up over 6,000 acres of farm fields that are ready for the harvest. How many countries do you know would put up with this sort of behavior of their neighbors? Big news, of course, this week, the U.S. has withdrawn its membership from the United Nations Human Rights Council. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and, of course, Nikki Haley used a joint statement in Washington to announce and explain their departure from the 47-member council. Haley's been the driving force behind this latest move. No country has ever dropped out voluntarily. Libya was kicked out 7 years ago, but this move could be seen as just the reinforcement of the perception that the Trump administration is seeking to advance Israel's agenda on the world stage. Both Haley and Pompeo made the statement that this organization has no right to use the name United Nations Human Rights Council. I gave you a little graph here that you can see, and this is just from 2006 up to 2015, the number of council condemnations against different countries. You'll see the top of the list is who? No big surprise here. Israel, 57. And then look at these terrorist states. The Islamic Republic of Iran, 4. The ISIS of both Iraq and Syria, 1. Al-Qaeda, 0. Boko Haram, 0. Fatah, 0. Hamas, 0. Hezbollah, 0. Islamic Jihad, 0. And what was the number one again? 57 for who? Israel. No big surprise why the U.S. has dropped off. Kudos to Pompeo and Nikki Haley, as well as the Trump administration. It seems like a boss is being pressured to meet with U.S. President Trump's top Middle East advisors this upcoming week. We know that Jared Kushner, as well as Jason Greenblatt, will be visiting Israel and Egypt and Jordan to discuss the Trump's upcoming ultimate peace plan for the region. And Abbas has basically been saying, I don't even want to deal with this or whatever. He's getting some pressure. However, his spokesman, Nabil Abu Ranadi, told Palestinian media on Sunday that the U.S. diplomat's visit is simply a waste of time and the U.S. peace plan is doomed to fail. However, several Palestinian sources have told Israeli news sources that Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Jordan, as well as top officials in the Palestinian Authority itself, are pressuring Abbas to meet with the American envoys. Wouldn't hold my breath. Kite terrorism. And this is not a joke. As I mentioned, over 6,000 acres of agricultural land and nature preserves in Israel have been destroyed, and the army is now trying to determine whether kites and helium balloons can be defined legally as weapons. And the reason for this is that such a definition would allow the Air Force to directly attack the terrorist squads that are launching these firebomb kites and balloons, and wouldn't have to offer a warning shot or whatever. It's just a futile attempt by Israel once again to comply to international law that applies only to who? To Israel. I mean, have you heard anything in the major media these days of the rockets this last week that have been fired into Israel, landing outside of kindergartens, the post-traumatic syndrome atmosphere of the Israelis in that area? You don't hear anything about that, and the Israelis are now trying to just play nice as best as they can to appease world opinions. That will never, ever, ever, ever happen. Take the time to read an article. We usually don't promote CNN that much on our reports, but take a look at this article from Wolf Blitzer. I found it interesting. And then last of all, we'll kind of wrap up with this. Again, this is about the potential upcoming Gaza war. Strategic Affairs Minister Gilad Erdan told Army Radio last Thursday that a major military operation in Gaza is possible within the next few months, with the goal of what? Toppling once and for all Hamas. And he's asked if Israel is on the verge, when he was asked if they were on the verge of a full-scale military operation, his comment was in the affirmative. Yes, there's a very good chance, after what we've experienced this last week and really over the last 4 weeks, that we might have to do something in order to return the peace and the deterrence. It would be a move that would have to take Hamas down. It's not something we want to do, but we may have no choice. So these are the days that we're living in. And just a reminder, the psalmist exhorts us to remember to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So with that, that's this week's KFIR Holy Ground Explorations Middle East update. God bless you all.